I think they put a good performance up against a good Washington Spirit side. They should be happy walking away with a point. Obviously, they were close to 3 points as well, but I think before the game they probably would have taken that, so we can't take them too lightly. We're trying to bounce back from some disappointing results, not performances, and I think it's a great opportunity for us to go there and come away with 3 points.
When you talk about the disappointing results but not performances, you said that you thought the team has performed well. How do you just kind of keep that momentum and that mindset with the players, even though the results aren't on the board, but you know that the shifts that they're putting in are great? How do you kind of keep the team together in that aspect?
Yeah, I mean, the effort's there, and that's one thing that can't go away regardless of results. Keeping them motivated is important. When you analyse it, we are creating a lot of opportunities. We're looking defensively solid, but it's coming down to fine margins. You can see that teams are ultimately parking the bus at times and having 11 players behind the ball, so it becomes incredibly difficult to find spaces, but there's enough there for us to still capitalise on, and then we just got to keep it tight at the back. We're not giving teams too many opportunities. Even with a good team like Kansas, we didn't give them any real clear-cut opportunities. We just got to stay concentrated, stay switched on, and capitalise on our moments in front of goal.
We continue to see some rotation with substitutes continuing to come on, players get back from injury. How important is it to have the depth of that squad, especially in a long season, looking ahead in the later months of the year?
Yeah, I think as the league grows, more teams coming in, that means more travel, and for us, we've done significant amount of travel in this period against some really tough competitive teams as well. So making sure that everyone's valued, everyone's getting an opportunity, using players to come off the bench and make an impact in games, and that has worked in some games, and you like to see a little bit more in other games. But yeah, that's why you have a squad, that's why you have a roster, so you can rely on players to come off the bench and make an impact. And yeah, it was nice to get Summer back onto the field. She came at a bad time for her injury, but these things happen, you have to move on, and it was nice to get her some minutes in the game.
And finally, you've talked about the window from the last international break to this one, and kind of how a difficult stretch that is in that time, but overall, what do you think the performance of the squad was with the tough travel, the tough places to play, and now heading into the final game before the break, hopefully to get back on the right track?
Yeah, like I said, from that stretch from Seattle to now with finishing up away at Utah, it's I think 15,000 miles of travel, which is obviously difficult, on the body and the mind, but like I said, the performances have been brilliant. Teams are having to adapt to us as well. I think those are the consequences of being champions, and so we are figuring it out together. And like I said, it's those fine margins that can determine the result of a game. Against Kansas, we have 3 good opportunities within the first 7 minutes. If one of those opportunities goes in, then it might be a different outcome of the game. We're not having to climb this big mountain when a team is taking the lead and they're sitting back and they've got numbers behind the ball. If we're able to get that first goal, the game can ultimately start opening up, and we can capitalise on more space and more opportunities. So yeah, it's vital that we still have that same mindset and mentality to go into games and try and get that first goal, and then just executing in those moments.